on, my friends? I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table, and we are still working on cycle 15 of a game not traveled, or my would-be stellar frontiers. It is a Sunday, and kind of still dreary out there. A little bit of rain going on. Got some sirens going down 2nd Avenue over here somewhere. About 600 feet, 500 feet off to the northeast of us is the on-ramp to 230 or I-80 35 at 2nd Avenue. So it's pretty busy, and there's a firehouse just down the road, and they go out on a lot of calls, right? So we were looking at what I wanted is to have Emma Martinez, the mistress of the Ministry of Commerce and Labor for my house, to have a conversation or meet with this captain of the NPC cargo ship to get some information if possible. So obviously I go through her stats and set up her points, and she's also supported, so this gives her a plus 13, and with a total base equals plus 28%. And then our NPC captain, based off of rolling up the stats, has a plus 21%. So when you look at the difference, of course, is my house minister has slightly better advantage to start with, which is a plus 7% to the questions. And we're going to do things like there's something that I should probably clarify just a hair when it comes to negotiations, interrogations, that sort of thing. It's a bit fluid, because since you're basically playing a solo game, you have to make some decisions that you want to try to not do that's going to influence things unduly, because that's obviously an easy slope to go down. And so when it comes to the charts for things, most of my questions are basic yes, no, or maybe, and then I apply the modifiers appropriately. So if the harder the no, the less likely there's going to be a possible way to wiggle out of it, and the opposite goes. So the higher the yes, the more difficult it is to once again to wiggle out of it. But in the middle, you got a little gray area. But it's also about questioning. So if the question makes sense, that would use just a simple yes, no, or maybe, that's the one to go. But we also have one when we're looking for how does an NPC respond, as in what is their take on something. So for example, I would just for initial start is we will see how is NPC captain open to this negotiation. And I would get a plus 7 bonus because my agent, or my minister, has done her groundwork or homework to get this initially started. But we have the NPC negotiation chart. It's scratched out as interaction originally, but it's more about negotiation, this one. So it was talking about their attitude. So for example, is against it, or is annoyed, or becomes bored with the offer, shows hesitation, seems uncertain, stalls and holds out for a better offer, for example. Goes on up to say finds it agreeable, pleased with the offer, accepts and asks for anything else, and immediately agrees, and fixates on the proposal. So you actually start getting a negative at that point, because they're so obsessed with that. Yes, we should do that, and nothing else really trips their trigger. So we're going to roll with the yellow being 10s and a plus 7. So I have a 37, and 7 is going to be 44. So my 44 on that for the NPC stalls and holds out for a better offer. Right. So what that basically sets me up with a plus 5. So now I got a 7, so I got a plus 12% for my next one. So what do I do to sweeten it? How could I sweeten the deal? So I actually have some options. So I mean, I can offer a bribe. I can give them credits as a bribe. I can give them material goods as a bribe. There's modifiers for those. I can give them a land grant if I want to bribe them that way. I don't see the value in doing any of that stuff. They're looking for something else, so they're being hesitant, but they're not exactly saying no, we don't want to negotiate with you because I'm getting a bonus. So I'm going to move on to my next original line of questioning in my progression, and how many jumps, since leaving home. I know how many jumps my ships can go before they need to be refueled, and I can roll. I've already rolled out the stats on this visiting merchant ship, so I know it is at most has a Tech 2 fuel cell and or star drive in it, or a combination thereof, or Tech 2 Navi computer. In any case, its jump capacity and its limited range is going to make a difference. So whether it's either operating from a forward base that's established by this other NPC house, or I literally have an NPC house adjacent to the adjacent region to my own, which can open a whole lot of possibilities. Be a Pandora's box too. I mean, it's the same thing as like having another player being adjacent light years away from you, only being within easy jump and travel distance of their ships, and vice versa. And it sounds like it can be great. It can be in the beginning, but eventually conflict wants to rise and stuff will crop up and events occur. If you still play the game following the event rules and then you apply them, even if you're multiplayers, sometimes those events can be misconstrued or intentionally so, and so on and so forth. So once again, so if I wanted to get technical, I would ask the captain if he's willing to tell me this, and then roll. But I'm just, so basically is how many jumps since leaving home, and I have a plus 12 for my rolls. So we will 87 and 99. So I get a 99%, and that's going to be at the high end of stuff. So the captain's becomes, if I go by this chart, it's just a definite yes with a plus 30. If I do it by this chart, it is a fixated on proposal with a negative 20. So if we go by this, and this is the one I kind of want to go by, it's fixated. Now gave me a negative 20, so plus 12. So now I'm at negative 8%. And because I know at the most that there's, I'm not going to say that without a doubt, because you can shoehorn in higher tech level builds into these smaller ship hulls to get some pretty unique vessels at some, so we can sacrifice cargo capacity for speed and range, for example. The other possibility is that when you get to beyond tech level 5, I think tech level 6 starts to see a lot of the initial things when it comes into ship components. So ship components like a Tech 1, a Tech 6 version of a Tech 1 drive is going to be a smaller, lighter star drive that is more expensive to maintain and to fix and manufacture, and its efficiency, I think the fuel efficiency is off just a hair, but it takes less mass, so and the mass push is the same, so it does change the dynamics, although it does make that design a much more hideously expensive ship, and you would not be making generic cargo vessels with those higher tech things unless that's your gig. And it's not to say that they don't exist, but I'm just saying whatever. So I'm going to say that it's at most 10 jumps, And of course, this takes into account that there's no way for me to know that this was just in a straight line, or if the ship is bounced between a couple places. They've made this many, so we'll roll the yellow, and we'll get 5. So they made 5 jumps. So getting to, 5 jumps. So they've spent 5 jumps with, if they have a jump capacity of 3, for example, that means potentially 15 light years. That would be as much as another sector or region past mine. So if this is a region and this page is a region, then there would be a page here. So from here to here, they would be somewhere like in this border, which means they're still quite close to my area. Or they have a colony or an outpost of some sort, or a trading outpost or some sort, and that's at the very edge of their controlled space, which then still means their house, their core house, is a little further away, but it still means a lot of possibilities for competition and other things. We also don't know the status and condition of this house, and so on and so forth. There's so much we don't know about it. So the next thing I want to ask this captain is, is this house fairly new? And I have a -8 based off of my roll from the previous roll. So is this a new house? And 39 minus 8, so 31. 31. See, now we can't use this chart, we have to use the other. So we're back to that question. If I use the 31 here, NPC seems uncertain. He's uncertain for what? Uncertain of if the house is new or old, or uncertain about whether you should tell me. See, that would open up a whole other Pandora's box of other questions. Or I can straight up look over here where it says maybe, and it gives me a plus modifier 0, so equals maybe. So he's kind of reluctant to tell me what or how old the house is and how long it's been there, and that's not necessarily unreasonable. It's not to be unexpected. I mean, he's not wanting to give away everything. Right, so with no modifier, -0 plus a modifier, I'm still at a -8, and at this point, I know there's always more questions you can follow up, and I don't really have any that I want to go into in depth at the moment. Some things are better to just let the game proceed and sort itself out at that point down the road. But it does accomplish a couple things. We've now established that there is a NPC house that's within 12 to 15 light years of my capital, and potentially that it may or may not be that old of a house, which is, it's going to play out to be either really old and on its way out house, or a failed house kind of thing, or it's going to be one that's in our category, because once again, whenever we negotiate or interact with things of this nature, we apply our own house status modifier, and since a house lord is still qualified as a squire, it will not become a thane until we establish a colony on another planet within an adjacent solar system, someplace nearby within the region, to give us the status of having multiple colonies under our thumb, and go on from there. So anyway, and that's that for negotiating with this captain. I really don't think of, I mean, there's always questions, and I always think of things later after the fact. Anyway, I guess that's it. Until next time.